Hi guys, my name is Skylar Harris, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Thomas Jefferson and the Declaration of Independence for my final project for the course HIUS 512, The American Revolution, which is a graduate course at Liberty University. I chose to talk to you today about the Declaration of Independence and Thomas Jefferson because originally I was just going to talk about the Declaration of Independence and have a small chunk focus on Jefferson, but once we did our Week 6 discussion board, I decided I needed to focus more on the man behind the document. Because in my opinion, Jefferson is one of the most important founding fathers, and I also believe that the Declaration of Independence is the most important document in history. So thank you in advance for watching my video today. I'm going to go ahead and get started about talking about Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was one of the founding fathers that helped build the foundation of the United States of America. Thomas Jefferson was born on April 13, 1743 in Shadwell, Virginia. Jefferson was born to Jane Randolph, who came from a distinguished Virginia family, and his father, Peter Jefferson, who was a surveyor and a planter. When his father passed away, he would leave Jefferson slaves and land. The slaves would contribute to considerable controversy. The land would lead to the building of Monticello, Jefferson's plantation, which is still a popular historic attraction today. Jefferson's father would die when Thomas was 14 years old, but before he passed away, he wanted to ensure that his son was educated, so he sent him to school for Latin and Greek. Jefferson would attend college at William and Mary. He was a serious student and would eventually become a lawyer. In 1769, he would be elected to the House of Burgesses, and a few years after that, he would marry his wife Martha. The Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence was an important step for citizens in colonial America. The Declaration of Independence is seen as a restatement of the contract theory of John Locke, that the British leaders broke the fundamental understanding refining the relationships between Great Britain and the colonies. This included the rights that people innately had that can't be taken away. Many acts and taxes were put in place that were repressing the colonists and furthering empowering Great Britain to profit as the mother country to have their colonies suffer without representation and rights. Before the Declaration of Independence was created, Thomas Paine published his pamphlet, Common Sense, which was widely distributed to colonists. The document was also encouraging independence from England. The Declaration of Independence was mainly composed by Thomas Jefferson in what is now known as Independence Hall. A committee of 5 men were selected to work on the document, including the most well-known, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and of course, Thomas Jefferson. From the time he was in school, he was known for being a quiet and meticulous thinker, and the committee members selected him to be the writer of the document. Eventually, John Adams would become jealous of Jefferson's glory and recognition in his creation of the document. Adams himself was not all that well liked. He wasn't very popular. But as Robert M.S. McDonald notes in his article, Thomas Jefferson's changing reputation as author of the Declaration of Independence, that the word "we" is mentioned 10 times in the final version, 13 in the rough draft, but the word "I" is mentioned 0 times. I thought that was kind of an interesting fact that showed unity among the colonists. The document itself is broken down into different sections: the preamble, the Declaration of Natural Rights, the list of grievances, and the Resolution of Independence. The preamble explains why the colonists felt like they needed to separate. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the strengths which impel them to the separation. The Declaration of Rights states that people have certain rights that can't be taken away. It is the duty of the government to ensure that they are not taken away. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish and institute a new government. I know that is the most widely known piece of the document. Next, you have the list of grievances. The list of grievances were examples of everything that the colonists believed that England, but more specifically King George, did wrong. For example, one is about the Quartering Act. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, as part of the Quartering Act, colonists were forced to house British soldiers in their homes and feed them. Another example, and this is the last grievance in the Declaration of Independence, in every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be ruler of the free people. The colonists had previously tried to discuss their issues with King George, but he repeatedly ignored them. The last part of the Declaration of Independence is the Resolution of Independence. States that the colonies are now free and independent states separate from Great Britain. That these united colonies are, and of right to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have the full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. The last fact I have for you about the Declaration of Independence right now is that John Hancock was the first to sign, which is where the phrase comes from. So now I'm going to switch over to talk about slavery, because Thomas Jefferson is known as a slave owner. Thomas Jefferson grew up with slaves, and he would inherit slaves from his father and father-in-law. He's an interesting figure concerning slavery because he was against it, yet he himself would be a lifelong slave owner. He was an advocate against the Atlantic slave trade, and he would try to include slavery in the rough draft of the Declaration of Independence, but the committee would have him delete it for the final version before he would approve it. Jefferson described the United States as an empire of liberty, but that was a statement that included white citizens. In his first draft of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson attempted to blame King George for slavery in the colonies, but Congress knew that it was in fact the colonists that were responsible for slavery, so they left the line that the king had excited domestic insurrection among them. In his text, Paul Finkelman also mentions problems with Jefferson and slavery. He notes that Jefferson didn't do enough to stop slavery in comparison to Abraham Lincoln. He does note, though, that it's not fair to judge Jefferson from a presentist viewpoint. That means judging historical figures on today's values and goals. He notes that it is important to understand Jefferson's relationship to slavery and race on his terms and by the standards of his own era. I thought that was also interesting. In conclusion, so Thomas Jefferson held many important accomplishments in his lifetime. It is my belief that, like I stated earlier, that I believe that he is one of the most important founding fathers, and also the Declaration of Independence is an important accomplishment and the most important document from history. That's why I spent so much time focusing on it. One of the reasons why this document was so important was because it was an official breakup, so to speak, with England. The document was the driving force of the Revolutionary War and what would lead to official independence after the Treaty of Paris of 1783, once the war was over. I believe that without this document, there would have been further tensions and resentment among the colonies, which would have eventually led to a breaking point nonetheless. Though Jefferson holds many accomplishments, his part in slavery, his affair with Sally Hemings, those are dark points in U.S. history that should be studied and not excluded. People should learn about them. Thank you guys for watching my video, and good luck on your future endeavors.